Hey guys, Peter here to tell you about the latest from Jungle Rot, A Call to Arms, out May 13th on Unique Leader Records. The album has 10 tracks, 34 minutes in length, and this is the band's 11th full-length studio album. They are an American death metal band. Now this is an album that moves in a linear fashion. It has movement, but it's linear in its movement. There's no ebbs and flows, there's no ups and downs. It's not a record that really changes that much from song to song. There are some nuances and you need those in order to give a sense of individuality to these tracks, but the background, the backdrop behind these songs is one that really stays consistent, stays balanced from start to finish. Being 10 songs and 34 minutes in length adds to the playability of the record. I think an album with these characteristics, if it goes over the 34-minute mark, starts to become a little bit redundant, it starts to become a little bit repetitive. As a listener, when you get to an end in an album like that, you look back and all you see is the things that the record had in common, and it becomes really hard to tell the forest from the trees. Being a little bit shorter, it allows you to enjoy the album a lot quicker, which in turn makes you come back to it again and again and again. And every time you do that, you're going to discover something new, a new element that really separates one track from the other, which increases the playability, increases your enjoyment, and increases how much you're going to connect with the overall experience of listening to this album. As far as soundscape is concerned, this is one of my favorite sounding death metal albums of 2022. One of the reasons for that is that the album, while being aggressive, while being brutal, while being heavy, is not overpowering. It's not in your face. It's not being shoved down your throat. It's giving some distance to the listener so you can appreciate, you can digest, you can understand the record, the songs, what is happening, all the different elements, the guitars, drums, bass, vocals, what is everything doing, like where are they going within the construction of the songs and within the construction of the album. This gives you a sense of separation between you and the record, between you and the sound, allowing you to better digest, better understand, better gravitate and hold on to an album like this. So I really enjoyed this experience. Was one that added a sense of freedom in terms of how I approach this album and allow the record to be still very aggressive, still be very brutal, but like I said, not in my face, giving me the space that I need in order for me to better understand what's happening with it. Now within that sound you have an incredible bass. I love the bass on this album. Anytime you have a death metal album with a bass that pops as much as it does on this record, I'm all for it because it gives so much to the record. It gives boundaries to the sound, it gives life to the album, it gives a little bit of grooviness, it holds down the record, it grounds the album, it helps the drums be better defined all around, and the bass does all of that on this record across all 10 songs. I absolutely love the impact that the bass has on the overall soundscape, on the overall experience. Now the drums have an incredible sound as well. I felt like they had a ceiling, if you will. They had a starting point and they had a ceiling. They knew how far they could go, they knew how far they could push, how far they could go as far as heaviness is concerned without overpowering the guitars and vocals. And they were always on that limit. I felt like they never really held back. And that was an important element because it gave a sense of substance, it gave thickness, it gave volume, it made the sound of this record feel a lot more powerful, but not overpowering. It goes back to that first point about keeping the sound a little bit away from the listener so you can better appreciate it, so you can see it a lot better. When it's in your face, it's really hard to see the details. Everything becomes a little bit blurry. When it's a little bit further away, the vision becomes clearer, and this album has that phenomenon as far as the soundscape is concerned, and the drums play a huge role in it. Now the guitars have an incredible tonality to them, and that tonality is perhaps the red line that connects every single song on this album. I think in the future when you listen to a track, you're always going to know what album that song is going to come from. This record has that sort of ability to put a little bit of a fingerprint, of a unique fingerprint of the record on each and every single song, and the guitars are doing that. I love the drive, I love the melody. It's an album that feels hooky, that feels catchy, but not necessarily overly doing it. It does it in a very simple, subdued kind of way, and the guitars play an important role in that experience. The only thing on the guitar side that I wish was different is that I wanted impactful solos on this album. Not because I feel like every song has to have a solo, but I felt like some tracks on this record really called for something bigger, for something better, and it wasn't necessarily there. So that is the only caveat as far as the guitars are concerned. Outside of that, I thought they were phenomenal all around. Vocally, this is a very consistent album. What you get at the beginning is pretty much what you're going to get all the way through. Another red line within the album that keeps you grounded, allows you to understand exactly what the format is going to be, and then it stays very true to that format. Having said that, once in a while it does throw you a wrench. You get some higher pitches, you get some backing vocals. It really changes how you perceive the album. So vocally, this record allows you to feel comfortable in it, and then every so often gives you a jolt with a different element. Really important as well, because sound-wise, the album has a lot to offer. There's a lot of commonalities, there's a few differences here and there, and you can get lost within it. And vocally, the same thing. So these changes, when they happen, they are important because they bring you back into the album. So if mentally you're navigating away from the record, these slight nuances, these slight breaks in the routines allow you to jolt yourself, reignite yourself with the experience, and start being connected again with the overall flow, with the overall record itself. All around, this is one of my favorite death metal albums of the year so far. I would put it in my top 5. There's not many that are going to sit ahead of this record up to today. It has all the elements that I want. It's short in length. That makes the playability of the album increase 1,000-fold. It has great sound. It feels memorable. The riffs are memorable. The riffs are hooky without really overdoing it. It doesn't lose anything as far as the aggression, as far as the brutality, but keeping a little bit of a distance away from the listener really gives you a sense of being able to enjoy this album a lot better. It doesn't subdue you. It doesn't overpower you, and that's important. You can have a big sounding record with a lot of aggression, a lot of power, and still be able to define all the elements within it. This record definitely does that. As far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to start off with Genocidal Imperium. Heavy, brutal, with incredible intensity. The backing vocals on this track really add a sense of a live atmosphere. So when you listen to this song, at least from my perspective, when I was listening to this song, the first thing I thought is, my God, this song is going to sound amazing live. Because it has all the right elements. It has the right aggression, it has the right intensity, it has the right movement. The drums and bass together sound phenomenal. It gives heaviness, it gives grooviness to the overall sound, to the overall experience. The riff is musically hooky. You have those vocals, those backing vocals that work really well in order to grab your attention and bring you into the song. So it's a track that has all great elements within itself. So when you're listening to it, you always imagine how it's going to sound live, because it's built for a stage, is built to be performed live. Next you have Maggot Infested. This song has a contagious riff. The riff permeates from beginning all the way to the end. There are some nuances here and there, but overall it becomes this imprint in your brain. You cannot forget the sound of this riff. It's contagious, like I said. It has great movement. It's a song that, while not moving very fast, it still moves. It has more of a methodic approach to it. The riff helps you navigate that process a little bit better. The drums are thunderous, and the vocals are very consistent with that drumming sound, with that thunderous sound that you get behind it. So it's a song that perhaps loses a little bit in terms of movement, in terms of forward movement. It moves a little bit slower. What it loses in that, it gains in heaviness, it gains in power, it gains in thickness, it gains in volume. The chorus and verses are really well connected with one another. Hard to tell where one ends and where the other one starts. And this allows for the overall track to feel a lot more fluid. It enhances the speed of the track without really changing the mechanics of the song itself. Last but not least, you have Death Squad. Great fluid track. I mean, this song is guns blazing. That's the type of track that it is. It really slaps. It has great drums, great bass working really well together and setting the path. On top of that path, you have the guitars. The guitars drive the experience. The vocals tie up to the guitars and allow to really combine as a 1-2 punch. The two really feel like they're feeding off of one another, and the blend between them really elevates the quality of this track. A track that has movement, that has aggression, that could have a solo that really extended the track. This song really called for it, but it didn't have. It doesn't take anything away from the overall feel, from the overall sense of how memorable this track sounds and how memorable it comes across. But I feel a solo on this track would really elevate it. It would take it from a 10 all the way to 11. This is at Jungle Rot, A Call to Arms, out May 13th on Unique Leader Records. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.